did win that first game in 33 minutes. Cloud9 trying to fight back in this best of 3. I also like to look at players when they come back onto the stage after a loss. And I have to say, C9 looked very determined when they walked back on the stage. Impact and Contractz in particular, a swift, purposed walk. They do not seem tilted whatsoever based on their body language coming on stage. And that's what you expect from an experienced team.
Absolutely. Contractz even danced a little bit. He was chatting in the pregame lobby, asked me to drop him a fat beat, and then I was like, all right, show me your moves, and he gave me like that one New Jersey fist pump, and I was like, all right, he's ready to go, he's dancing. We're gonna rock this game. So he looked confident, he looked ready to go. I always like sharing the stories of pregame chat. I think it's always very compelling, and that one reasonably enough. Someone else told somebody to keep themselves safe, and all was well. Final ban to come through here as C9 need to get something away, and Lulu removed as a non-possible first pick.
There it is. So we do. What ban are we dropping then? It's the Camille that was banned by Immortals this time.
Yeah.
On one side, but we get the Lulu out of there, and right away Immortals just lock in Karma. It was huge for Olleh last game.
Yeah, thinking of bans that are still available. Malzahar, Shen, Rengar. Rengar, the unleft up ban. Karma still first picked here. Rengar's the new one on the block. We'll see if anything comes out with that. Right now, the Karma going to be grabbed. C9 realized that the Nautilus was pretty important last time around, and I also know that the Rengar is left up from the bans, and again, Rengar was banned by C9 as their last pick blue side in game 1, now grabbing it here as their first pick red side.
Yeah, I feel like Rengar has become a very feast or famine champion in our league. Dardoch had some spectacular Rengar games last week, which I feel like is kind of forcing Cloud9 into picking it here, even if it hasn't been Contract's most successful champion.
Yep, of course, it did receive some very small nerfs, 7.5, slightly less healthy jungle clear, lost 3-ish armor, and a slightly less potent W heal off of minion damage. Ezreal grabbed early on, which is interesting as Ezreal was not contested in any way in pick ban in the first game, and now they're going for the early grab on it. And a sneaky Ezreal will be the bot lane choice.
I mean, I think it's just a big pivot away from what failed for Cloud9 last game. They put Sneaky on a pretty much low mobility marksman and tried to augment that with shields throughout the game. Here, Siki just says, I am not going to be in that situation again. Give me the most mobile AD carry you can think of, and he picks Ezreal.
But it is still low wave clear. You're going to take last poke, but you're not going to keep your turret alive, and it's going to be that same Caitlyn Karma duo for the Immortals squad, and it did work last time, and it has been working for them in general the last couple of weeks. Immortals will round out with this pretty early Nautilus grab, and it's going to mean that C9 must answer the top lane pick.
I actually really like that from Immortals, picking that Nautilus that early. So often, we see Nautilus picked first after the second ban phase, and Immortals just preempts all of that. There was not much really you would want them to lock in aside from junglers, which will most likely then be kind of tried to be banned out by Cloud9. But it's something Immortals has done a lot of this year, is they just leave a jungler off their first 3 picks, let the other team take their shots at Dardoch in the ban phase, and then Dardoch's confident with his champion pool that he'll pull something out and be fine.
That's going to be the choice right here. Maokai going to answer it here in the top lane, so it will be mirrored roles for 2 of the 3, but an unanswered jungler and an unanswered support. Vladimir will need something to match the Karma, and Immortals will need something to match this Rengar. Mid lane is, of course, mirrored here, so we'll see if there's bans on mid lane for a special grab, or if they're going to do the obvious jungle bans on one side and support on the other.
Yeah, and it is the jungle bans towards Immortals. The Gragas has been super good for Dardoch, and it is rather difficult, I feel like, to ban support set at this point. We were looking at some numbers earlier, and on patch 7.5, support has actually been the most diverse role, at least in the European LCS. When we checked, there were 11 unique support picks in their 1 week. Yeah, which is higher than we're used to when we're basically seeing the Zyra, Malzahar, and Karma sometimes strats, but they're still going to be throwing bans at the supports that would be strongest in lane or synergize best with Ezreal, and Nami's the first up.
And Nami definitely a strong one there as well, and thinking of other sort of sustain-like supports, at least also off the table. Interesting they're banning out specifically the magic damage junglers. I don't feel like there's really a requirement for that, but that's been done.
I think it's also them banning out the junglers that have the highest pick potential, because that has been so lethal for Immortals. Gragas and Elise off. He still has the ability to play Lee Sin, and that is what I would probably guess he's doing, but he's played a plethora of champions at this point.
Absolutely. Caspi, the final ban here for Immortals, aimed at the mid lane matchup. And now it's time for the first pick to come through for Cloud9. The Vladimir that was banned by Immortals against C9 is still up. Again, that might be a specific blue side situation. You mentioned overall support picks. Thresh right now the hover, and looks like C9 will indeed wait for their mid lane pick. No surprise, it really seems the metagame right now. Unless there's like a first pick worthy mid laner like old LeBlanc, which doesn't exist anymore, feels like almost every team waits for the last pick mid lane on red side.
Yeah, and I think it's smart in this situation. It may just force Pobelter into going Orianna, which would not be bad in the overall context of this team composition. It could also allow us to see a mirror of the Orianna Syndra matchup. We'll see what Pobelter jives on more right now, because their team composition is pretty set right now. Good support, good tank. They just got to fill in the damage and the jungler in between.
All right, there is that blue pick blinded Vladimir, and actually the Kha'Zix, I should say. Still available as the hover. We'll see if that actually comes through. They've got plenty of time to make that choice, but yep. The blind Vlad comes in, and there's the Kha'Zix.
Kha'Zix, a fairly common pick into Rengar, has a large amount of damage, but definitely has been picked less as the split has progressed. A little surprised by those picks by Immortals. I did think they would go more towards the Orianna and the Lee Sin for standard picks, but they opt for the Vladimir, which has been a very strong pick for Pobelter in the past.
Yeah.
Last split, there were times where he said he thought it was the best champion in the game, and it was a free win if they picked it. Immortals was also winning all of their games back then with a totally different roster, so that's going to color your perception of the champion. But I'm excited to see this matchup.
Yeah, got to be a lot of new looks right here. Some things staying the same. The bot lane and the top lane still the same for Immortals, but otherwise Cloud9, mostly new things. Just the repeated mid laner here. Otherwise, a bit of a new look. Obviously, no Juggernaut here by any means, or anything looking like it. It's going to be the standard front line, and the Rengar gang coming through for Contractz. Last time he did get outplayed by Dardoch, and this matchup is volatile, and Dardoch could do it again.
Yeah, and the danger here for Immortals in this team composition is going to be about whether or not they can create fights. Because last game, they were overloaded with initiation. They had almost every role being able to participate into that. Here, it's just the Nautilus and the Karma for a little bit of move speed up against Cloud9, who have brought a pluritude of pick skills.
Yeah, exactly. They lost the Gragas, they lost the Orianna, or sorry, the Syndra that Immortals had used to open up the game. So you're right, different situation here for Immortals. We'll see if they can keep that same early game lead. Cloud9, though, still typically known as a good mid-game team. They've got such a well-rounded roster as well. These champions kind of somewhat of Swiss Army knives as we get ourselves ready, and the fans are ready to look at the camera, ready to get themselves into the game, and here we go. Game 2 ready to begin as Immortals hopes to close it out, and Cloud9 hopes for the comeback as we begin.
Over-attached C9 fan giving a shout out to us all. I gotta say, I'm looking forward to seeing this one, especially after hearing Olleh just before this game saying, if we don't beat the top teams, then, you know, we don't really even deserve to go to MSI. And just the fact that, I mean, we obviously didn't hear the question, but just hearing him talk so casually and normally about MSI speaks to the expectations of this team. Because for a lot of this split, Immortals has had some super bad games, and you're thinking, is this team gonna make playoffs? Is this team gonna be in the promotion tournament? MSI is just not even on your mind. But now that they're sitting at 6-8, 1-0 up on C9, trying to move into that playoff race, the fact that they're already thinking about that can speak to the confidence of the team.
Yep, and they can do it, of course. They still have like Dignitas to play, who is just right above them and would be a great team to best in the standings. Counterlogic Gaming, Phoenix 1, and of course this Cloud9 are their remaining matchups here, and we'll see if they can make this that late surge. Immortals, awkwardly enough, used to be known for the fact that they would choke at the end of the season and fail to win playoff matches they were supposed to. Maybe this is the new look with the new roster, where by the end of it all, they pick themselves up by their bootstraps and actually make the run. Of course, that's a long way to go.
Oh yeah.
But maybe the fans can have hope that Immortals can flip the script here.
Yeah, first steps for them is to beat Cloud9 in this matchup. And if you're looking at Cloud9, who we're talking about being in this comfortable position, I want to walk through the scenario really quickly for Cloud9. They currently have a 2-match lead on Phoenix 1. However, they are still yet to play Phoenix 1 a second time. And Phoenix 1 has beaten Cloud9 once this split. So if they end the split with the same record, which could happen if C9 loses this and then loses to Phoenix 1, Phoenix 1 would get the playoff bye instead of C9. So that's a danger they do not want to encounter.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, what it means is if Cloud9 does lose this game or loses this match in Game 3, Phoenix 1 owns their destiny and can take over C9. There's nothing C9 can do about it if they happen to drop that match. So things to watch for. This definitely does matter. We talked about the increased parity in the LCS and how it really feels like any team can beat anyone else. And turns out a playoff bye might mean way more this year than it ever has before, with how scary even the number 6 team could be. Pobelter and Jensen doing battle in the mid lane. Looks like actually Pobelter doing a great job last hitting minis. He's actually got a perfect track record. Jensen's only missed 2. Yeah. Quick deep ward to look for a Kha'Zix roam. Very standard professional ward, and similar for IMT, they push in the bottom lane. And look at the Krugs, look at the blue buff. And this is... There we go, there's the word, okay. Olleh was prepping for Cody Sun to do it.
Yeah, but the early shove from that Immortals bottom lane puts him in position to see that Contractz has done some type of different route. So that could tip Dardoch off to this, but he's got to be careful. He starts up right above. There's
Here
Contractz.
Comes the Rengar. He's empowered. He's got the kill, and Contractz strikes back from the first game. Meanwhile, Hook in the bot lane needs a bit of damage, but nicely done by Contractz. Dardoch did not ward his buff, and he should have.
Really nice job by Contractz, but you do actually have to blame Dardoch for that, only because the team was so close to having the right idea. They warded the blue. They saw that blue buff and Gromp were still up, so they have to think, okay, where would Contractz be going? Either he did a failed late invade on Dardoch's blue buff, in which he would be wandering around in the middle of nowhere, or he's at your red Dardoch. And the team needs to be able to make that communication call when they see blue buff and Gromp are up. Where else could Contractz be? He could actually only be at the red in a realistic sense, and Dardoch does not ward and falls because of it.
And it's going to be a full level lead right now for Contractz, and again, it was the fact that Dardoch had out-jungled him in the previous game, had almost a full level lead from early pathing, and this time it's been the reconsideration there. And Dardoch had been doing so well for the last several weeks. It felt like the Immortals bot lane got better. Dardoch was playing super solid. Pobelter just now finally catching back up to his old form. And it was like, Contractz, are you really at the level of these high-performing junglers? Good to see him get something good going. But of course, there's much more game to play right here. Dardoch will try to take what he can. Top lane basically equal. Maokai, of course, did receive some landing phase nerfs in 7.4. Still seems to be a favored top lane pick of many LCS teams. And with a weaker laning phase, Impact actually still doing pretty reasonably well in the top lane with a small lead.
Yeah, I also want to quickly point out Pobelter's runes are actually the same runes that Piglet used yesterday when he got blasted in this Vladimir Orianna matchup. I do not like this page, to be frank. It has scaling ability power blues in it, which is the main thing I want to harp on, because I feel like Vladimir either goes magic resist or cooldown reduction, because those are really critical for his early laning phase. For the magic resist or cooldown reduction, he gets better scaling, but that's not what Pobelter has gone. The difference he has between Piglet is he has gone with Storm Raider Surge as a keystone rather than Deathfire Touch, and he's still gone with Ignite, so this is extremely close to what Piglet got blasted with yesterday.
Huge chunk on a sneaky right there, even Thunderlord triggered by Olleh. That was a nice play. He set up the W on a Smoothie and actually going for the Ezreal. Now a play onto the mid lane. Pobelter taking some damage. He could get rooted in place. Luckily for him, he dodges away from it. He's going to be fine.
Nice sidestep. If that root lands, Jensen probably flash QWs and gets the kill on a Pobelter. So very critical sidestep while saving his life.
Contractz have to keep playing into the jungle. We saw a little bit ago, Dardoch did steal away one of Contract's big raptors, but the entire camp obviously worth a bit more, and Contractz remains ahead in the matchup. Literally a full level ahead right now in 700 gold. 400 of that, of course, the first blood, but another 300 or so from his actual farm advantage. And that's a good thing for Rengar. He wants to get to level 6 without having anything bad happen to his team, and so far so good for C9.
Yeah, especially because with Nautilus into Maokai and Caitlyn Karma into Ezreal Fresh, that's top and bottom lane pushing for Immortals in most situations, which makes it usually harder for a jungler to be safe until level 6. So the fact that Contractz took matters into his own hands, won the jungle matchup with the early kill, sets the team up for success overall.
We'll see if that success can continue. Cloud9, can they win with the lead? It's a small one, but maybe they can stretch that a bit farther. Flame finishing to push the wave. Impact has TP'd back into lane with the Ruby Crystal and a second Doran's. Pobelter clears away a control ward and runs into Contractz, and actually this is going to be rough for Pobelter. Contractz goes in, lands the root. That's going to be the damage he needs. Nicely played there by Contractz. The solo kill, his second of the game.
Really making that Rengar pay off right there, and beautifully played, getting the early burst on Pobelter, ulting while he's in the Sanguine pool, limiting Pobelter's options for escape, and gets the solo kill, as you mentioned. Pobelter, where he differs from Piglet here, he's actually gone magic resistance against the Orianna, so he won't be getting as bullied in lane, but that still doesn't give him any extra durability against the Rengar at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely the case, and I'm curious if he actually wants to get an Abyssal Scepter very early on to this game. I'm a bit surprised by that choice, but that's what the Negatron Cloak likely builds into. Dardoch just going to keep going through his own jungle, of course, able to get his own blue buff thanks to the fact that it's a Vladimir mid, doesn't need it. Dardoch gets a little bit closer to catching up in experience, but still only level 5 to the 6 of the Rengar, and Dardoch is unable to do anything but farm his own jungle. He is behind of the 1-1. He's not allowed to really go for ganks that easily. Doesn't know where the wards are, and it will continue to be a game of no pressure from the Kha'Zix. It means that C9 can kind of keep playing the lanes aggressively. Plus 20 for Jensen. Impact is down this time around, which you would expect for the matchup. Kha'Zix wants to turn that around.
Here's a big Rengar coming in.
Lands a slow. Knockup not going to be that much of the Contractz. Going to flash
Nice
for
job,
the
Impact.
anchored stop. And do they have the damage, though? Is the question going to land the root? They're going to take the turret up. Impact going to go ahead and just absorb all of the damage. And Contractz gets his 3rd kill of the game. A great setup by Impact.
Huge early game for Cloud9, all centered around Contractz. Really loved the flash there, following Flame's flash and then catching the dredge line. So often, that's how Nautilus makes his great escapes. And Dardoch is unable to really get back into this game. They're going to try something here in the mid lane, looks like.
Try, but how much of a gank can you really find from the Vladimir? Looking for the dive under the turret, the flash to follow, the single pull under the shotgun. If they get the kill, it will be traded on to Dardoch, but at least that is something grabbed. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Olleh gonna run out of health quickly. Sneaky gets the kill on that one. Not much more to do on to the opposing marksman, but still several kills on the map once again for Cloud9.
Oh, Pobelter has no summoner spells.
Lots of damage for Contractz, just destroys him where he stands. His 3rd solo kill, Contractz.
Oh man, and for all the people that see Rengar do badly in NALCS games and say, why are you still picking Rengar? That's why, because he can run away with games in this situation. But here, multiple flashes and all summoner spells really burned by Immortals. Jensen just enough health to get the shockwave off into the turret, also gets his ignite. Olleh there trying to harass above the minion wave with half health, so a very aggressive harass there.
Yeah.
Gets caught by the hook on Thresh and is punished. And by the way, Rengar is really fed here. So he hops on Pobelter, who doesn't have the cool up.
Yep.
No chance.
Double Q. I want to give a critique of Olleh here, who failed to flash a max range hook. He flashed afterwards, and that is something that at the skill level you should be able to do on reaction to that kind of range, is just flash out of that when you know it's coming your way. So silly misplay by Olleh, but it does mean even more kills for C9 as they are doing wonderfully down here. Down 8 CS in the bot lane, but the kill makes up for it. Contractz looking for something to do. The fight, Olleh jumps onto him. Look at the damage up, but he's got chases in and flashes for his 4th solo kill. Contractz just breaking the game over his knee, looking for number 5. Here comes the damage up, and he does! 5 solo kills for Contractz!
This is insane, what Contractz is doing to this game. No one can touch him, it seems. Cody Sun's going to hope to get something because he's a little low, but Cody Sun's got to be careful.
Smoothie's here, going for the hook, and he's almost going to land it. That was dangerously close.
Contractz, who already was ahead, now has 1,500 more gold to go and shop with, and he's just going to keep building up damage until someone stops him. There's 1 assist on people who aren't Contractz, and
Yeah.
he has 6 kills. Oh my goodness.
Scumbag Impact ruined the scoreline. How dare you?
Oh,
Yeah, he's taking a lot of damage. He could die for this one. He's going to get the... Oh, he hits the W too early and does not get out of the root. As he clicked it a little bit too quickly. Kill comes through. Nicely done by Cody Sun and Olleh to get 1 back. This turret, though, close to dead. Look at the damage out of Sneaky. Pushing him down. And that should be the turret kill here with the auto attacks. And Cloud9 going to give him solo gold 650 into the pockets. And Sneaky is ahead now.
Yeah, and this is where C9 should start being very comfortable with their position in this game. Because mainly look over at a team like Immortals, who thrives off of trying to make plays. And where Immortals look really bad is when they're behind, because they haven't really, I feel like, worked on their comeback stage of the game that well. They're just really good at playing with a lead and trying to make a bunch of plays. So now that they're down 3,000 gold.
Ooh, he jumped into the shot, though. Sneaky hits it a little bit too early. You can jump over that, but it's real hard to do. Kill comes through to Olleh. Nicely done to find the one-on-one. This, of course, came through for Cody Sun, and now the play for the mid lane, but Contractz is here. Pobelter's got to run for this one, and once he comes up, here's the leap. The heal's going to be not enough. Contractz gets the kill. Looks for a little bit more damage. His shield's going to keep him alive. Shockwave catches Dardoch, who is 1 spell from dying, but can't quite find the extra bit of damage as Jensen still. Kill into the turret. Nice for C9. Hook onto Olleh. That'll be 1 picked up as well, and look at that. Contractz finds kill number 8.
8 kills at 12 minutes. 6,000 gold at 12 minutes. 1,700 gold ahead of the closest person on Immortals. All right.
I think he's ahead.
That'll do it. and 4 passive stacks already this stage in the game.
This is definitely the first half of the video, my Rengar versus their Rengar.
Absolutely.
Pretty much the my Rengar is all of 2015 North American LCS, and this is just the enemy Rengar clip right here. Contractz is single-handedly demolishing this game. Dardoch really actually, that was beautifully played by Dardoch. That was elegant as hell.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter though, this Ocean Break is C9.
Man, if there is a textbook definition of a high-risk, low-reward play, that's it. I mean, he executed that red buff steal, but all he gets is the red buff. And Impact didn't really lose much trying to punish that. So well played by Dardoch to not die, but difficult situation in the first place.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out the mechanics because I love to talk about mechanics here. If he doesn't leap at that exact time, Impact basically is able to Q and knock him out of it, but Dardoch basically is leaping during the end of the W animation so that he's outside of the Q knockup range by the time Impact could even cast the spell, I'm pretty sure. If you mistime that either too early or too late, he can kick you out of your leap or kick you out of the satchel. In this case, Dardoch had no way of getting stopped, so really, the actual specific timing, very important there, and really want to echo, well played by Dardoch to do something little in a game where he's otherwise getting destroyed.
Yeah, and speaking of being destroyed, Contractz' Rengar has destroyed a lot of people.
And he's going to look for a little bit more damage. Olleh is down under turret. He's gone. Rip in pieces. Olleh is dead. Just kidding, he's going to stay alive. He's got a summoner heal. Nicely played. Cody Sun keeps his teammate up. But it does burn several summoners, and Contractz gets out with it anyway.
And here's actually where this game gets pretty interesting. Is C9 has a 3,000 gold lead overall, but individually, Contractz is 2,000 of that gold. So yes, he has the potential to take over this game and continue the hard carry, but if he starts faltering and can't pull off plays, all of the lead is on that one person, but they're going maybe for this turret dive. They have everyone here, but Immortals might turn this around.
We'll see if they can. Damage on the turret. Sneaky pulls aggro early. He's got to get away from this one. Turret goes down. Knock up there onto Jensen. Plenty of damage coming across. They haven't yet killed Flame, but the root's going to make it come through, and Contractz finds kill number 9 on this one. And the Immortals defense not going to happen. Impact stopping up Pobelter.
Yeah, Pobelter wasn't able to get up there, and Impact would have been able to go with teleport, but he decides it's not necessary because that pulls Immortals back. So it looked promising because Immortals kind of knew that turret wave was coming and Flame was going to stay there for a while, but C9 was able to bring more people and pull off the successful dive.
Looks like Impact tried. Yeah, he did start the TP. Pobelter saw him and he decided to cancel, as you mentioned before. Quick wave clear for Impact, able to push around onto Pobelter here. And yeah, it's just Immortals having to try to find ways of gaining gold. And unlike the previous one where we were saying, well, C9's behind, but they have Cogma, maybe it turns around. This doesn't feel like one where Immortals can wait to scale and receive victories. So it's going to be hard to get back into this one. We'll see if they can do it, though. Cloud9 better take over the jungle. Steals the gold from Smoothie. Got to run away from this one, but mid lane outer goes down. C9 makes it 3-0 in turrets. And still look to play inside Immortals jungle.
Yeah, it's so difficult for Immortals to look into this jungle because every brush is in the jungle and Rengar will jump on you. Look at how scared Olleh has to be with that ward.
I like that Rengar sounds vicious even when out of combat because you spam Q for the movement. You just like, I'm in the river. I'm walking through the brush.
Which is weird because he then goes invisible. And you're like, wait a minute. I thought you're supposed to be stealthy.
To be fair, when he's invisible, he doesn't spam Q. He has modes. He's a complex individual, Jatt. Rengar is a 3-dimensional character. He is sometimes stealthy and sometimes vicious.
Fair enough.
Don't judge a cat by his growl. That's something. I lost that one. I'm sorry. Contractz, though. Also a man of sightseeing. Puts wards down inside the jungle. Don't see, he's even friendly. Don't trip. He's giving friendly advice out to everyone else. Wow.
That's what I think when I think of a 9-1 Rengar. Friendship.
He's hugging you with his knives.
He's just misunderstood friendship.
He's misunderstood, exactly. I showed you these.
Yeah, look at my knives. Oh no, you're gone.
Door-to-door salesman Contractz. Forced runner from Dardoch. Might have bigger claws than him, actually. Forced to kite back a little bit there, and thankfully a Thresh who loves internal damnation, keeps his friend the knife cat safe, and really a friendly suite of characters here on Cloud9. Jensen, the emotionless robot, helping with the whole palette here.
Oh man, this game is also in a point where it's slowing down a little bit because we're only 17 minutes in and C9 does have such an advantage.
Yeah.
It was good on them to be able to go around and take all of the turrets because they needed to use that Rengar to accumulate an overall advantage for the team, which is what they've successfully been able to do. It's no longer just that 2,000 gold lead on Contractz. It's a 2,500 gold lead on Contractz, but the rest of the team has grown their overall advantage, and it makes it much harder for Immortals to come back.
Yeah, absolutely agree. There's no easy 2-on-2 where you'd expect the lead. It's got to be an outplay, and that's sometimes hard to do. Dardoch gets spotted once again. Smoothie goes for the hook, and he aims it! That was immaculate! Here comes the follow-through, and Smoothie takes away a kill, and now the retreat. Smoothie trying to get away from Pobelter's Vlad. He's going to get the kill picked off, but it's going to be the trade, of course, at the end. And the 10th kill comes through now for the Rengar, scaling up further.
Such a clutch hook right there, though. A little bit worrying that they did fall, though, to Pobelter. Not something C9 is immediately concerned with as they look to put down yet another turret.
Damage going to come through. The wave's going to be a little bit nice, and Jensen actually almost picked off by eating that cupcake, actually. Still damage coming through onto the turret. Jensen staying on with life, and turret falls down. Makes it 4-0 by that mark. And the Ocean Drake will provide some breach, and number 2 spawning in 10 seconds.
Will not hurt to get that Ocean Drake. Not the most ideal in this situation, though. Watching this, Smoothie hook. Jensen doesn't actually take the Lantern immediately, but he's a little worried about Pobelter's damage, so I'd like the delay there by Jensen taking that. Pobelter in a 2v4 picking up a kill. Still beneficial for him.
Yeah, best who's going to get, so I can't really hate him for the play, but you're right, difficulty ahead. Looks like Pobelter is going to go Abyssal, by the way, so Protobelt Abyssal is going to be well, with the boots, actually 30 CDR on items and some extra health and magic resist. It is interesting, of course. We talked about the runes on it. Scaling AP does turn into health later on.
Exactly, and with this spec, I can feel like the rune page is defensible because if he's going cooldown boots, Protobelt, Abyssal Scepter, Zhonya's, that's 40 CDR.
Right.
And then you're going to get the extra...
You're buying MR, you're buying health, and it makes a lot more sense. Otherwise, here comes the fight on a Pobelter. Dardoch here to defend his teammate. The flash follow, and that's solo kill number, what is it, 6 at this point? 6 solo kills for Contractz, 11 kills, does die for it. Cloud9 looking for maybe a trade, but it's only going to be the 1-for-1, which is actually shut down gold to Immortals and in favor of the blue team.
Yeah, he's still becoming this massive beast with 9,500 gold, but when you trade a kill for that, they'll still get the dragon out of it because of the overall pressure. That kill wasn't actually worth it for Contractz. Giving a kill back to Cody Sun can only help Immortals later in the game, although it's a pretty grim outlook from here.
You're right. I mean, it's obviously a game where Immortals are winning, but look, you look at the Immortals win, where it was... Sorry, yeah. You're right. I misspoke. Cloud9's clearly winning. But I just contrast it to like the Immortals win, where it's like they were winning by less than this, and it was spotless, in my opinion. It was like, honestly, a lot of good calls in a row, no major risks, no silly deaths given away, and here's C9 with a lead, who are supposed to be the better mid-game team, and they're kind of giving away shutdowns. And again, there's a lot of rope to play with. It's not like there's something going to lose this game. It would take a lot more, but I still don't like seeing plays like that, playing with the food like he is.
Yeah. I'm really wondering how many kills Contractz can end this game with at this point. It's actually Jensen who holds the overall LCS kills record if we count playoffs.
You remember the number?
He had the massive game against Envy. Someone remembers the number. I believe it was around 20.
Okay.
Skara was actually the person who held it with a AP Master Yi game beforehand.
Yeah.
11 kills by 20 minutes is pretty exceptional. So these are the types of games that have a chance of cresting those records.
Cloud9 hoping their rookie can maybe beat their mid laner's record. Got a long way to go, but maybe it'll happen. Still no assists, which is proper gameplay for a Rengar, of course. And out he goes, 3-shot barrage, not quite gonna land on a target. As Olleh tries to get control back of his own jungle, but you can look at the vision right now, and it's slim pickings here for Immortals. There is not a lot of vision into that river. C9 can, generally speaking, play for that Baron. You can see the on-the-way pings, thanks to being spectators, but it's darkness and a grim outlook for Immortals here.
Yeah, and this is the type of Baron force you like to see. Starving out the vision and making a quicker play into this area because they have such a lead. Only one Scrying Orb on Immortal, so it makes it even more difficult for them to gain vision beyond threat range.
Yeah, they can set up a trap wall. They're going to do it from mid lane, which I understand, but they can set up a trap wall to like help protect the blue buff wards and things like that. You can kind of key off some of the vision because you can't get over those otherwise, but yeah, just playing for wards right now, it can mean frequent recalls from Olleh. I like this control ward, by the way. It's going to die, unfortunately, but nope, just kidding. All right, well, either way, these controls are really nice because you can help get rid of some of the vision that the other team would be placing down. Smoothie feeling safe enough to play for that and does knock it back down.
Yeah, but as is customary, Olleh had second control ward in his inventory, so as soon as he died, he dropped another one a little bit farther back and still cleared out more of the vision. Really tense situation here for Immortals. They're wanting to stall out to a point where they can not get immediately killed by a Rengar in a team fight. It's going to be tricky.
And there's a sweeper killed on cooldown, and that's going to be like a minute and a half without the ability to go back into that area. Cloud9 again trying to play for this, and again, I want to point out controller positions. There's the one in the Baron Pit, which is totally fine, and the one that's forward here is really important because people will always ward over the walls to look for more wards on Baron. Your sweeper has a long cooldown, and there's a kill into the bot lane, or into the mid lane, sorry. It was actually pick off on Olleh. Meanwhile, it's on to Flame, as it's going to be Contractz kill number 12 right here. Of course, Jensen got one of his own. We saw that one off camera. His ward was dead, had flashed up, but maybe it was Hook that got the kill.
Yeah, I think it would have been a Hook. I saw it beginning to channel as that play started. That's a pretty smart play by C9. Flame was being really aggressive in the side lane against Impact, and since Immortals is never going to be able to do a 4v3 play around Baron, they can just go. We're going to watch this. Warding over the wall. Olleh steps up. Smoothie goes over the wall, and bullseye.
Nice shot. Yeah, and that's one you can't really react to. That's just, he needed to fight for vision, and unfortunately this time around it was Smoothie with the outplay, and nicely done by Cloud9 to stretch this lead. They got 2 unanswered kills. They've gotten more of this map under control. They're up 8,000 gold here at 24 minutes. Certainly a large lead, and they are taking the slow and steady run around. But with this reset from Cloud9, it gives Immortals that small window to run in, clear the wards away. I love the fact that Dardoch's able to get Scuttle. I actually would have liked to see C9 wait and take Scuttle first, because that is essentially a ward that cannot be killed. It's 1 minute of dedicated vision that Immortals gets to delay the Baron rush with, which does have some value, as Immortals can still hope to find some kind of opening, but it is going to be a long shot to find it.
Yeah. And I also want to point out one of the reasons that Contractz has been so strong this game is he was rather fortunate picking up a lot of the low health members early on in the game to start stacking his passive up. And this is a thing that was new to the Rengar rework, is his passive gives, when you kill someone within 1.5 seconds of starting to do damage to them, you stack up. And right now he's getting 13 attack damage plus 13% of his bonus AD. If he gets a 5th one, he maxes it, and that goes up to 20%, which will just give him just a huge gold value and extra AD. So when you get that many stacks early, it's just super beneficial, and I wanted to point that out.
Yep, definitely agree. He got to 4 pretty early on. Of course, it's Cody Sun who hasn't died, so unsurprisingly, that's the one tooth that hasn't been taken away. But it's a half-health Caitlyn, and well, Rengar would like to assassinate Cody Sun at some point. We'll see if Contractz can do it, or Cody can prevent the stack. For now, it's just been a delayed game, and Risk Scuttle will time out here at the 26-minute mark, and Cloud9 can see if they can play for Baron one more time. Impact in the front line, not going to find the opening just yet. TP is available. They want him to be the tank, and they're just going to start Baron right off the bat. 8,000 health. Olleh's around, looks for a bit of poke. Sneaky jumps in and takes a lot of damage for it. Gotta have. Signal pool popped out by Vladimir. Can't dive as easily. Flash follow comes in. Impact wants the front line. There's a play as well. Knock up on a Contractz. And the chase and Pope. They're going to get a lot of damage. He's going to pick off Sneaky. Actually, 1 for 0. Look at the damage on a Jensen. Pope gets one of those kills picked up. That's a huge deal. Trade in for Contractz. Still gets number 13. Over the wall goes Olleh. Here comes the follow. Looks for number 14. Contractz going to get it. A double kill for the Rengar. And it's going to be a 3-for-1 overall team fight that Cloud9 does come away with the lead.
Yeah, Pobelter, even though he burned Sanguine Pool early, you can see the power of that Vladimir. And I kind of got to hand it to C9. They're intentionally funneling kills towards Contractz to see how many he can get right here. 14 at 26 minutes and a secure Baron.
All right, the snowball continues. 8,000 gold lead turns into 10,000 with Baron Nashor off the Rift. And the quick reset, the quick heal, and 4 buffs later, they can take over a lot more of this game.
Yeah, and watching this one more time, it, for a time, looked like Immortals was going to turn this fight around, mainly because Pobelter got a bunch of damage onto the already low Ezreal, and then when the AD is down and Jensen's super low from being out of the fight, thinking, oh man, Cody Sun's going to walk into this fight. Unfortunately, Pobelter goes down. Flame turned tail. I think if he would have stayed in the fight, there would have been a higher chance of them winning it. But he considered the fight lost at that point. Probably going to turn to C9 anyway since Rengar was so healthy. And it ends up being a pretty substantial win for C9.
And Contractz basically full build. That last item's not a control ward, which in pro play is considered full build. I'm only joking a little bit here, but puts the vision back down. Now has room for another Infinity Edge or something. It's going to be beautiful. Looks for Pobelter. Going to dodge away and get back into the base gate. Saves him from kill number 15 as Contractz add the ulti on. Crits the turret. Goes down to Smoothie with the kill credit there. And Smoothie, I think, clearly player of the game here for his high impact plays.
Yeah, those thresholds.
That turret kill. Game winning. And Impact is playing a split push game. The pretty simple 4-1 for C9. And they're going to just join Impact here on the top side. And comes the inhibitor turret assault. Contractz has Guardian Angel, very safe for 15. And there goes the turret. Not going to go back all the way towards Jensen, but there's no dive to be had. Pobelter can't get his way in. Contractz in there, loses his first life, but it's okay. Cats have 9 of them. And here comes the backline dive for Pobelter. Can he get it? Protobelt in, gets the kill on a sneaky. Nicely done. The 1-for-0 will trade his life, but that's still at least a kill coming through. And Immortals actually make it a 2-for-1 overall. They did take down Contractz. That is a fight lead, 4v3, trying to wear down onto Impact, but they're low on items. Cody Sun can only do so much. But it does stop the push for now. The flash hook on a Smoothie. That is nice. Can they find the play? Looking for the damage, but can't quite kill him just yet. Olleh! Wow, look at the damage output from Jensen, though. Impact just barely even gets tickled from those bullets right here. Shield comes in. Jensen, the flash follow, gets the shockwave, the trade kill. Cody Sun gets it, jumps the wall. The root sync. Can he stay out of range of Impact? Yes, he will. And oh, look at that. It's going to be 4 kills picked up at cost of 2. Immortals win the team fight.
And Cody Sun actually played that fight extremely well. Pretty much free hitting for the entire fight. Just enough damage to kind of give them the win. And once again, Pobelter's Vladimir is getting pretty scary. So when Contractz is over-aggressive like this because he is so fed, it can really hurt Cloud9. Contractz essentially took his 14,000 gold in this fight and did nothing with it because he died without really doing damage. So that allows Immortals to then dive really deep. Pobelter again kills Sneaky, and then for about the next 20 seconds, Cody Sun slowly kills Impact. The keys here is that Cody Sun never put himself in position for the damage dealers to affect him. Jensen, unable to get huge combos off Flame, gets a pick onto a squishy, and then there's a lot of times where Cody Sun would want to get closer, but he keeps his distance, and when Impact Twist advances him, he just keeps shooting here, gets enough damage for Jensen. Jensen goes for calling Dardoch, but Cody prioritizes the right amount of damage, doesn't allow Impact to get in on him, gets the shields from Olleh, and finishes off the fight properly.
And they were like 5 HP away from killing Smoothie as well. That was nearly an ace. They had almost gotten that kill on the Thresh. Problem is for Immortals, that's still a 9,000 gold deficit. They need 5 more of those fights before this game is equal. And it's going to be a long road ahead. Olleh, of course, has the Ardent Center to buff up Cody Sun's Caitlyn, so some of that stacking is there. But again, long roads to go. Cloud9 still with a lot of room here. 10,000 gold lead. Cloud pick up soon-ish, but looking to play for these open inhibitors. Top is open entirely. Bot lane is a very low health turret. They still retain all the map control here on C9's side.
Yeah, and the other champions on C9, not named Rengar, actually have very good scaling. So Sneaky, Jensen, and Impact are getting pretty big, which is what C9 can fall back on. You would hate to see them lose this fight because there were definitely places where Jensen or Sneaky could have gotten kills that they gave them Contractz out of respect for the performance he's having, but if that ends up costing them, that'll feel pretty bad.
Cody Sun right now needs about 300 gold. He is close to Last Whisper. 80% crit chance.
Oh,
no! Dardoch is gone. He is dead. He is dead. Jensen gets the kill. And sadly, Contractz gets his first assist of the game. Scumbag Jensen ruins the perfect scoreline, what would otherwise exist here. Yeah, but Cody Sun needs the Last Whisper badly to turn this around to some degree.
Yeah, I agree. And he can get the Last Whisper pretty soon if they're able to hold off one more wave. And you can kind of see it's business time for C9. They lost that fight in the base. No more farming kills on a Contractz. It's absolutely time to full-on go for the win. And they're sieging up pretty strong here in the 5v4.
Play for the mid turret's going to be pretty easy to take down, and that's going to be shut down rapidly. Here comes the dive in for Impact, but a damage on the Flame. The knock up there. Nice dodge in the hook. Sun's going to land on a Jensen. Doesn't mean much, though. And They're going to have to kite back for now. Cody needs to take this time to walk back in the base. He has the money to buy Last Whisper. Needs to grab it. You can't fight the 4v5 anyway. There's no turrets alive. Dardoch respawning in 3. Impact still holding the front line.
Now that Rengar is out of ultimate, though, Immortals might go in.
Maybe they respect the 5-on-5. 10,000 gold lead for Cloud9 right now. There's Last Whisper in for Cody Sun. It's going to be like a 30% damage amp against Impact. That's a pretty big deal. Turret 1. Inhibitor 1 hit away from dead. A little bit more poke. They land the root on a sneaky, but he is not the primary target. Into the backline they go. A lot of damage out of Pobelter. Look at the backline play. Shockwave's going to catch a couple of them. Cody Sun. Cody, not long for the world. Kill number 15 for Contractz. Jensen takes down Pobelter. That's going to be all they need to close the game out at this point. There's not enough tank stats and not enough damage. The carries are dead. And here comes the chase into the base. Double inhibitor down. Cloud9 can ride these minions into the Nexus turrets. 30 seconds on the recall, and Cloud9 should be tying up this series. Contractz said they will not tie the kill score of his teammate Jensen. But there's not much left to do. They're trying to wave. They're killing what they can. A great hook sets up Flame. That should be enough to get the kill. His shields are nice, but is it really enough to stay alive?
Dardoch!
Guardian Angel pop. Dardoch wants to kill Jensen. Can't quite do it. I understand the thought of trying to keep the game alive, but it's not going to matter. Another one picked up. 5v2 in the base. 10 seconds of the respawn. Probably not going to be enough time. And it's going to be Cloud9 able to knock down the turrets, knock down the Nexus, and tie up this series. We are going to game 3. Cloud9 needing this to keep themselves ahead of Phoenix 1 heavily in the standings. Damage not going to come through, and Contractz, the man on the screen, 15-3-3 on the Rengar. Almost single-handedly wins the game.
Yeah, just a massive performance by the Rengar. Got a little bit dicey towards the end there, but the hole was too deep for Immortals to climb out of. C9 walked back onto stage after that loss with a purpose, jumped out to a huge early lead, and then were able to take it home for the victory.
Highest damage in the game, the jungle Rengar. No surprise here. But of course, a key contributor there. Cloud9, as we mentioned at the start, they walked back on stage with sort of a sense of purpose. Heads held high, said, all right, we'll take care of business, and Contractz embodying that completely. He had lost his matchup one-on-one earlier, got outpathed by Dardoch in game 1. In game 2, solo kills him in the jungle, then solo kills like 7 more people that game.
Yeah, and I mean, it started really early on, being able to get the counter jungle onto Dardoch and kind of snowballing from there, but you do kind of credit Jensen in this as well for keeping Pobelter completely back. Yes, it's a favorable matchup for Orianna, but the other 2 lanes early on could be considered winning for Immortals. So the rest of C9 did a much better job in this early game.
Yep, absolutely agree. So a well-deserved win by Cloud9 and the rest of that company. Let's get ourselves now down to the analyst